Good morning, my name is Josh from CyclonesOZ, and today we're going to be tracking the severe weather that has impacted the southeastern corner of New South Wales, where over 250 millimetres of rain has fallen in the last 36 hours at some weather stations, and as such has caused a moderate flooding emergency in this part of New South Wales, with some rivers already approaching the moderate to major flooding alerts, and with a little bit more rainfall expected throughout the course of today. Who knows how much these river levels are going to keep rising, but I'm going to break that down later on this video. We're also going to be talking about the weather systems coming in for Western Australia. We've got a big storm coming in this weekend, but it has been back down on the forecast in terms of severity. And we'll also talk about the weather event that came in last night, and all of that plus more coming up in today's weather forecast. If you haven't already, then please consider subscribing and also leave a like on the video while you're at it. We're going to take a look at the 12-hour radar loop right now for this area of Sydney, New South Wales, Wollongong, and just take a look at how much rainfall really did funnel ashore. And you can see here over the top of Warragamba Dam through here, it got absolutely hammered with intense rainfall, which was my big concern yesterday with how much rainfall is currently in their river catchment area. But I mean, if we were to just pause this later last night, this is approaching midnight last night, I mean, you're talking about rainfall accumulations of around 20 to 30 millimetres an hour, which have been pretty consistent over the past 8 to 10 hours up here. And as such, that's equated to rainfall accumulations between 2 and 300 millimetres for some areas. And as you get further down the coast towards Ulladulla and Nowra, south of Wollongong, but north of Batemans Bay, combined with the rainfall accumulations in the past 24 hours and the rainfall accumulations in the day before, if that makes sense, they've had some rainfall accumulations there approaching 350 millimetres of rainfall. So it is actually quite a lot more than what the initial forecast had, and it kind of makes sense that there was more rainfall on the forecast. Not only was this weather event significantly stronger than what the forecast models picked up, but the sea surface temperatures were also quite warm, and I should have noticed that in the rainfall forecast and had that as a little point to make, considering the fact that there'd be an immense amount of evaporation in these weather systems as they approach the coastline, and that's what's caused such heavy rainfall. So that was a forecasting error on my bad, and also on the forecast models plate as well, but still it hasn't resulted in significantly more rainfall. I mean, the forecast did say between 2 and 250 millimetres, and we have received 250 millimetres of rainfall for a lot of locations, but there's also been scattered weather stations that have picked up to up towards 300 millimetres. And if you do live around the Captain's Flat, Wollongong, Boral, Nowra, Ulladulla sort of area, anywhere in this sort of region of New South Wales that's been impacted by heavy rainfall and you're watching this video, then please let me know how much rainfall you have picked up in the comment section down below. In terms of more rainfall to come though, because that is the main concern right now, the low pressure system is currently situated just offshore, and as a result, throughout the course of today, there will actually be a little bit more rainfall. Up to 50 millimetres is possible for the wettest of locations, but it will be south of Wollongong, and it shouldn't be around the Warragamba Dam catchment. The rainfall there is easing off now, and it will be continuing to ease off throughout the early hours of this afternoon. And by about 1 or 2 p.m. This afternoon, conditions around Sydney, Wollongong, and even as far south as Batemans Bay should be drying out or dried out completely. Still, though, the further 50 millimetres could spike river levels just enough to get them up to the major flooding alert. We've already got some rivers around the Wollongong area. I believe it's one of them around here outside of Bargo that flows into the Warragamba Dam area. That's currently sitting at moderate flooding alerts, but it's rising rapidly at this time, so I'm very concerned about that river. There is a good chance that that pours in a significant amount of water into the Warragamba Dam, raising it up to its capacity, which is a very big concern at this time. And if they're not dumping water right now, then they most certainly should be. This is 100% a flooding emergency unfolding now in Sydney, and I know I've said that about 3 times this year so far, but for the the southern suburbs and the eastern suburbs of Sydney that are going to be impacted by the rivers that are flowing at moderate floods right now, this is a big time flooding emergency. So make sure you're taking it very easy around rivers and creeks, no walking or strolling around rivers and creeks. And if you do live in a flood prone area, which apparently 10% of the Australian population does, mind you, make sure you are preparing adequately for a significant flooding event to occur. You can always check with the Bureau of Meteorology and check with your local shire or council officers to get the most accurate of information. I can't really break down the nitty gritty for every single shire around Sydney because that would mean that these videos would blow out to be probably 10 hours long. But if you check your local council office and your local news authorities and the Bureau of Meteorology as well, you can get the most accurate and up-to-date information regarding flooding information and how to prepare adequately for a potential flooding event. But yeah, after today, it doesn't look like there's going to be any more rainfall coming through. There will be quite a lot of rainfall just offshore in terms of heavy showers. There'll be some gusty winds as well throughout the course of Saturday, easing off early Sunday morning before a cold front sweeps in from the south and just tops off a little bit more rainfall, maybe up towards towards 10 millimetres of the coastal regions throughout the course of Tuesday. A little bit of snow as well expected Tuesday evening into Wednesday morning, but this rainfall shouldn't be impacting areas that have already been impacted by significant rainfall, and yeah, just pulling that back to the current time now. Over the next 3 days, peak rainfall accumulations, including the rainfall that's going to fall today, should only be around 60 to 70 millimetres, which is much lower than what we have been seeing over the last 2 days. But still, this extra 70 millimetres that's expected to fall, I don't think it's going to be exactly 70 millimetres. My forecast would say between 30 and 50 millimetres for south of Wollongong. With this extra 50 to 70 millimetres, or whatever happens to fall, it's still a lot of rainfall, and it is going to add to those river levels. So just make sure you are being very vigilant around rivers. Down towards Narooma, Bateman's Bay, down towards Mallacoota in Victoria, we're talking a further 20 to 50 millimetres as well, maybe up to 60 or 70 for some locations along the coastline, and that's rainfall that hasn't already fallen as well. So especially around Narooma today, some heavy falls are possible into the early hours of the afternoon, but by this evening they should be starting to clear out. And just another little point that I'd like to make clear is that once this snowfall gets in as well in around Tuesday and Wednesday, there will be a couple of snow showers as far north as Lithgow and Bathurst. We could be seeing up to half a centimetre or even a centimetre of snow up there as well. So bitterly cold conditions Tuesday night and into Wednesday morning with damaging winds possible. You can also see a couple of spots of snow accumulation here outside of Tamworth. I'm not 100% sure what these mountains are called, but still some good snowfall is possible there. I believe that's north of the Barrington Tops outside of Newcastle, but a couple of snow showers possible there, and they're definitely possible throughout Victoria and the New South Wales Highlands. That's just something to be aware of. Now, over the next 10 days, I'm not seeing any major jumps in the rainfall accumulation, just a couple of spots of this up to 100 millimetres of rainfall here outside of New South Wales. That tells me that the rainfall is more or less over, and the rainfall will be keeping itself offshore. Now, there is a little bit of a trough that's developing here next weekend. Now, this is a slight concern to me. There's a lot of moisture going on now in the Tasman Sea and the southern parts of the Coral Sea as well. And this is also how East Coast lows can form. So the next rainfall event might be just around the corner next Monday, Tuesday, the 17th and 18th of June, but we're going to have to be watching out for that on the forecast models very closely. The GFS and the Axis G3, not really expecting anything on the Axis G3 is, but it's still significantly further out to sea than what the Eastern BF has. But this is certainly something we're going to have to be watching, and we'll have more details on this early next week. But in terms of other general weather forecasts for around Australia, unfortunately, South Australia is still missing out the rainfall. Like I said yesterday, Monday night and Tuesday morning, we'll be seeing a strong cold front bringing severe weather to parts of Victoria around the Melbourne area, damaging winds and heavy rainfall or intermittent showers with heavy rainfall embedded in them are possible, and also some heavy showers expected over Tasmania early Tuesday morning as this powerful cold front sweeps through. Up to 50 millimetres is possible on the west coast, and a couple of centimetres of snow also possible on the mountains in Tasmania, so just be watching out for that. And we'll swing back to rainfall accumulation, and no rainfall on the forecast for Queensland, none for the Northern Territory, and very little for Western Australia's north and interior. It's just Tasmania and Victoria right now that have some rainfall to come, and also some damaging winds as well. I mean, look at this through the Bass Strait around the Furneaux Islands. We're looking at wind gusts up to 110 kilometres an hour. Over Tasmania, they're going to be between 70 and 90 kilometres an hour. On the south coast, we're looking at more up towards 110 kilometres an hour as well. So some very damaging winds are expected throughout the course of Tuesday and maybe even into Wednesday morning as well. So make sure you are staying safe from the weather that's going to be out there. It will be quite nasty. It's time to change the story now to Western Australia. We had a powerful cold front sweep through late last night. That dumped a lot of rainfall in the Perth metro area. In fact, Bickley recorded 80 millimetres of rainfall overnight, significantly more than what was on the forecast, but it was hardly surprising just looking at the front that came in. The rest of the Perth metro area had at forecast rainfall around 30 to 35 millimetres, so the forecast was bang on there, and we knew it would be. I mean, it was a one-day forecast, so it was a very accurate and easy forecast to be making, but that heavy rainfall certainly did bring some flash flooding to areas. Those road conditions were hazardous. I was on the freeway at 6 p.m. last night, and it was shaky, that's for sure. Very heavy rainfall coming down, bumper to bumper traffic. It was something, that's for sure. Intense driving conditions there, and damaging and locally destructive winds as well, up to 100 km an hour were reported. Thankfully, though, that has all eased off, and it is a rather calm morning in Perth right now. Just a bit of fog around and a couple of clouds overhead. Not expecting any rainfall throughout the course of today, although it is possible on the coastal areas and up towards the north as well. A little bit of rainfall expected to be lingering around there, and that's what's caused some heavy falls over the past 12 to 24 hours as well, but I can't seem to find any of them on the rain forecast here, which is rather unfortunate. But it's not right now that we're worried about. We do have a big cold front coming through this weekend, but it has been back down significantly on the forecast models, and I mean, I'm not overly surprised by it, but still, this cold front was hyped up quite a lot. It was meant to be a huge cold front coming through, but it looks like it slipped very far south, and then coming in Saturday night, early Sunday morning, it's going to be a brief line of very heavy showers, possible thunder as well, and some locally damaging winds. And then in the back end of it, Sunday morning and into early Sunday afternoon, looks like we've got some heavy showers as well possible for the south coast, but Perth is just too far north in this case here to really get the worst of it. There will be some damaging winds and intermittent heavy showers here and there for the Perth metro area starting Sunday morning, but I don't think it's going to be a big cold front in terms of a dangerous weather system sweeping through. It looks like it does continue into Monday though, just speckly showers here and there before another cold front sweeps up Tuesday afternoon, but it barely impacts Perth either. A little bit of rainfall sticking around Wednesday, Thursday and into Friday before it looks like late next weekend we get a big cold front lining up again, big in terms of size, but it doesn't look like it's going to be a severe one either. We'll have to check what the Axis G3 and the GFS have to say about this weather system. They're really not calling for a big weather system either, and I don't think the GFS would be either as well. So it looks like relatively calm winter weather, or much more normal winter weather, where we've got those intermittent cold fronts that aren't too powerful, certainly non-severe cold fronts coming through over the next 10 days. But yeah, this one here, I'd actually be surprised if it went severe warned for the Perth metro area. The damaging wind threat is still certainly there. We're going to be having wind gusts up towards 90 kilometers an hour for the Perth metro area Sunday afternoon, but don't be surprised if this is a complete bust in terms of a weather event. In fact, I would not be surprised if Perth received less than 20 millimeters of rain, and the peak wind gust was about 70 or 80 kilometers an hour. It really doesn't look like this weather system is as strong as we once thought, and it looks like the Thursday system is much stronger than it, and that's equating to rainfall accumulations being much lower now. We're talking about only 25 millimeters of the Perth metro area over the next 5 days. In fact, I will just shift that to the next 5 days, or actually they're a lot lower, between 10 and 25 millimeters over the next 5 days, which includes the rain that's going to be coming through this weekend and early next week. Still a lot of rainfall expected along the south coast, up to 70 or 80 millimeters there, but it looks like areas around the Stirling Ranges, Albany and the agricultural communities in the south coastal area really do miss out. The wheat belt still gets around 10 to 20 millimeters of rainfall, but the real rainfall is going to be concentrated up north between Jurien Bay and Kalbarri. Geraldton itself expecting 140 millimeters of rain from Friday right through to Sunday morning, and that is reciprocated amongst the forecast models. In fact, the Axis G3 daring to predict up to 200 millimeters here south of Morawa, and I believe the bulk of that comes in throughout, or it starts up later tonight and then continues right through Friday into Saturday, and then slides out of the area probably early Sunday morning. Yeah, Sunday morning into early Sunday afternoon, the rainfall eases off there, but right up in the I believe it's the Central Coast, south of the Gascoyne. We're expecting some very heavy rainfall throughout the course of Saturday, and I'm surprised a severe weather warning hasn't already been issued for this weather event, because this is some very heavy rainfall that is on the cards now for the northern parts of the wheat belt. Much needed rainfall, but still very heavy rainfall indeed. It's going to be interesting to see how these weather systems shape up, because there's been a big drop in intensity on the forecast models, which is good news, mind you, but I'm just looking at sea surface temperatures here, and I would not be surprised if a powerful cold front in the lee of this system blew through the Perth metro area to the likes of what we saw last night. However, that is kind of an unlikely situation at this time. We're going to have to keep watching this weather forecast very closely, and hopefully it does completely ease off, but by tomorrow afternoon we will be knowing what's coming through once we get a look at the radar imagery. It doesn't look like it's going to be a strong one though, so it looks like conditions are going to be much calmer. Don't be fooled, it will still be full-blown winter weather Sunday, and especially throughout the course of Sunday afternoon too. That's going to be quite nasty, quite cold as well, and very windy, but it doesn't look like it's going to be a fraction of the strength of what it once was. I mean, we're talking up to 50 millimeters at one stage on Sunday alone, and now we're only talking about 15 for the Perth metro area as per the Bureau of Meteorology's forecast. So don't be surprised if this weather system completely busts out and really isn't that strong at all. But yeah, that basically does it for the West Australian weather forecast. In terms of other interesting things around Australia, I'm not really seeing anything, which is good to see. Nothing on wind accumulation either. If you do have any questions or comments, or if you feel like I've missed a forecast, then please do leave it in the comment section question down below. I'd be more than happy to answer it. A special shout out to the channel sponsors. Their names are on screen right now. If you want to get your name mentioned at this part of the video, then please do click the join button below and select a category that you'd like to intensify to. But that is all from me today. Please do consider liking and subscribing the video and leaving a comment down below as well. And that is all from me, and I'll catch you on the next storm. Goodbye.